Greetings, community, and welcome back to another episode of the Rooted Soul podcast series. And today we're going to be talking about the moon energy. We are moving along on this journey of discussing energy, divine energy that we possess within and how to align with it. And we are now on episode 18. It has been a journey. It has been a journey for me because this is the first time I have done something like this on YouTube. And I just want to say thank you to those who have followed along, and for those of you who have joined, liked, shared, and subscribed, and just been a part of this Rooted Soul community. So thank you. So when I last posted, during winter solstice, prior to winter solstice, I didn't imagine that it would take me this long to return back, but it was a much needed time that I needed to take. The moon energy, which was the next episode, really needed me to pause on and really gather more just of my own journey. And so, yeah. So everything that I originally had set up to share is totally different now. And I think that that's amazing and beautiful because that's exactly how life is. Hello and welcome. If you are new to the channel, my name is Jamila. I am a licensed professional counselor and certified holistic energy healer. And I am on a journey of building community that reconnects the global majority, Black, Brown, Indigenous people of color to our Indigenous ways as a pathway to our liberation and to our healing. And so if that is something that interests you, please like, share, and subscribe. I think time is such a interesting concept because it's all relative, right? I think it's so amazing how it could be three people and we're all waiting. And we're all waiting for, let's say, 5 minutes, but how that 5 minutes may feel in each one of our bodies will be different. And so although in this linear concept, it's 5 minutes, right? But from the other many layers of time, it can feel like infinity to some, or it can feel like it was too short. And so when I think about time and the amount of time, and also, I want to say about time is that time, one of the other beautiful mystic things about time is how time can change something within you. And I mean like truly change something within you, where you could have like a firm belief in something, or you really feel something deeply. And then as time goes by, you shift into a whole different direction. And I think this is something that the divine built into us for our human experience. Because I think a human experience is about evolving and ever becoming. And some might argue that some people may choose to become something that is not in harmony and balance with the universe, with nature and the elements. And I think that is true, and that is for another discussion or another time and place. But I do think this this freedom of choice to evolve and become whatever it is you choose to be is an unconditional love gift. So for me, this whole concept of time, right? Like where I originally was when I was going to share the next episode about the moon phases, which is the next energy that we were going to talk about, is the moon energy. Where I was going with it is in a totally different direction now. So it feels like where I was at that time was so many moons ago. Um, so, yeah, I think that time and how time changes things is very similar to the moon phases, and how with each moon, new moon to full moon to new moon to full moon again, we are forever changing and evolving. I think the moon is such an interesting mystic symbol of our emotions, because our emotions have so many levels, which is why I believe that emotions are symbolized by the water. As we know, there are places that no one has gone to in the depths of the sea. And I think that excuse me, is so equivalent to emotions. And I don't know. I think even in a lifetime, I don't even know if we get to the depth of ourselves. Maybe, maybe not. I I tend to believe that there's a whole nother plane that is beyond our beyond our inner standing, but a knowing we may have, but not like a understanding of it, if that makes sense. Maybe inner is not the right one, but maybe just an understanding of it. But another plane that we go to travel or to explore even more of the depths of ourselves. But in this human experience, on this physical plane, I think it's a lifetime of going deeper and deeper and deeper. And it can be a scary thing. And some of us choose not to go down that path. Some of us only go but so far to want to explore our emotions. But I do think that the moon and the symbolism of the moon through the waters is, and working through the moon phases, right? As we go from the dark, the new moon, and then from as dark turns to light into the full moon, is an opportunity for us to travel through our emotions, to explore our emotions, and to learn and grow and evolve from our emotions. When I think about emotions, I think about them from our, actually not even just think, what I've experienced with my own emotions as I have paused from the winter solstice last post till now. I have traveled through my own emotions and have just been on a journey, a continued journey of soul healing, spirit renewal. And one of the things that I have come to a knowing about is that part of this healing journey is uniting my what I'm calling my sacral chakra feelings to my heart chakra intuition. Intuition is a word that I think could be, for this conversation, interchangeably to feelings as well. And so for me, that journey was uniting the two, bringing them into balance and harmony. And that has been my journey, traveling through the many moon phases that have happened since the last time we met or talked. The new moon is when the moon is at the darkest, right? And I feel like it's such a symbolism to, as I'm sharing, my experience through traveling through the different moon phases since the last time we talked. The new moon, I feel like, can feel like a time in our life where we feel like we are not connected to our intuition, or we can feel a lot of doubt, or we could be confused about our question, like, are we on the path that we're supposed to be on? Are we in alignment with our true self? And I feel like the new moon can represent that phase, right? Because when it's a new moon, it is at its darkest, and you can't see it in the night sky. But one of the things that was very encouraging for me as I was traveling through this emotional journey of connecting and uniting my sacral chakra feelings, which would be considered lower feelings, to my higher feelings, my intuition, my heart chakra, was this reminder that although I cannot see it, I know that it's still there, right? And so there are times in life where we may not feel our intuition, and we may not feel like it's near, but it is there. It is always there, right? We are always connected, and it's during those darkest times when sometimes we may struggle with that knowing. But when we remember, and I think this is something that comes with life as well, as we experience moon phases, we've seen the new moon turn into the full moon, right? We've seen the transition. And so sometimes we have to remind ourselves and then encourage ourselves from that reminder that everything is going to be okay, because everything does flow in divine order. Nothing can disrupt divine order. Nothing can disrupt divine order. And so that was something that I affirmed myself with as I moved through those dark times, those new moon times, when I am continuing to go to the deepest, darkest depth parts of my emotions, to explore them, to cleanse them, to heal, to love them, to become renewed, restored, evolve, ever evolving and changing. The moon energy is an energy of divine feminine. We all possess energetically the divine feminine and masculine energy. The divine feminine energy is symbolized by the moon, though, which is equivalent to if you are familiar with the Ifa goddess pantheon or the Yoruba goddess pantheon, that would be, Oya is the air, but Yemaya and Oshun are, well, Oya, Yemaya, and Oshun are the goddesses of feminine energy, and those are just three that are known, but there are more. But Yemaya and Oshun represent the water. Also, the high priestess energy can be symbolized through the moon energy as well, because the moon and the water, as you know, move in sync and in harmony. And if we were to, I don't really want to get into, because there's always a partner to a feminine energy. To a divine feminine energy, there is a partner divine masculine energy. And I don't want to spend too much time on that and to make this conversation too complex, but I do just want to mention that with Yemaya representing the ocean, right? But then the depth of the ocean floor is Okun, which is a divine masculine energy. And so, without getting too complex, I think when we are moving through our moon phases in our life, like we're moving through our emotions, although the moon energy is symbolic by divine feminine energy, we are still beings of divine feminine and masculine. So we're moving through both, and hopefully that wasn't too confusing, or made things too complex. So, in indigenous spirituality, the moon reflects the power of feminine creation, water, emotion, and rhythm, and connecting us to both our divine intuition and the cyclical wisdom of nature. And the sacral chakra feelings, when I say lower feelings, I don't mean in any sort of hierarchy way. I mean more that it is closer to the earth, right? It is where we are gaining this wisdom of through nature, through connection with others, community, partners, etc., etc. And so, as we move through the phases of the moon, right? Yemaya representing the divine mother energy, the energy of growth and nurturing, and Oshun representing the birth, and Oya representing the death and rebirth, and how we go through this cycle, right, and this rhythm. I call the three divine mothers represent the full cycle of the lunar evolution. And I don't know if, I mean, for me personally, I like learning and sharing about how our ancestors more than likely taught us these concepts utilizing the energies and the names that the energies were given, like Yemaya, Oya, Oshun, etc., etc. And I love learning this information because it feels like it connects me back to my ancestors. And it also feels like it connects me back to my divine power and to universal force. But even without knowing all of this that I'm sharing, we are always going through this cycle, this rhythm. Rather, if we are like mindful of it or not, it is always happening. Just as the moon is constantly going through its phases, we are constantly going through change. Now, when I say we are constantly going through change, we may not be open to the change, so we may not change per se, but change is still always happening. So when it comes to blockage in your moon energy, blockage meaning that sacral chakra, right? The lower feelings, the feelings that are connected to this physical plane. So feelings that you're gaining by like what you are experiencing with your senses, is not able to move through the channels to your heart chakra, your intuition, where your intuition, this higher level of feelings, and that I'm using the word feelings and intuition interchangeably, where they can give you some form of knowing of like what you should do with it, right? When there's blockage, that doesn't happen. And often and so what you experience is confusion or fear or distrust. And so it's like you don't know if your intuition is speaking to you or not, or if it is, you're afraid of what it's telling you. Are you're confused and you don't know what is feelings that are getting feelings that are being influenced by outside entities and what really your true self is saying to you. So this can create like emotional instability or numbness, or you tend to over rely on logic and refuse or avoid the unseen, right? Because when we talk about science, there is a seen and unseen part, and this is what our indigenous, this is something that comes from our indigenous blood that runs through us, right? I use the word indigenous to represent all the global majority melanated beings. Like, our ancestors knew there was a seen and unseen part to science. And there is an avoidance of that when that moon energy is blocked. And so you would prefer to over rely on logic and not this higher level knowing, not logic, which comes from unseen too, which comes from third eye too, right? But this over reliance on just logic of what you can see, hear, touch, feel, etc., etc. And so the blockage creates this disconnect, right, from the water element or the body's natural rhythm. And I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that we all perhaps, when we're moving through the moon phases in our life, I think we all have a moment, and we all probably have had a moment where this has happened, right? I don't know about you, but I know that I have had moments like this, like where I have doubted, where I have gotten confused, where I'm totally afraid. And so I just stick to like the logic that I can see, hear, and touch out of false security and safety. I think we all go through a moment like this. And I think one of the things that could be very valuable is when you have an elder that you can go to for guidance and reassurance, are when you are able to go to nature and sit with nature to be reminded and reassured. As I was sharing with you earlier, one of the things that always has been a source of encouragement and empowerment for me is the reminder that nothing can disrupt divine order. And so I have seen enough moon phases, literally, right? Like I've seen enough of the new moon transition into or transform into a full moon. I have seen enough sunrises and sunsets. I have seen enough seasons change, like where the fall or in fall the leaves fall, right, and yield back to the earth, and then new leaves spring again in the spring. Like I've seen enough of this enough times to know that nothing can disrupt divine order. And so that this is only a phase. This blockage is only a phase, and it can be unblocked. Anything that is blocked can be unblocked. And so, if you have experienced this, please share in the comments what your experience has been or what your journey has been, moving from blockage of moon energy to unblockage, because I think this is something we all experience at different moments and times in our life. I think it's no coincidence that all of this has come together for me to share at a full moon time, right? We are approaching the full moon in Libra, and Libra is the energy of balance. And it's a balance of the sun energy that we're in, Aries, which is the energy of I am, right? And so we are balanced in who we are. And a full moon is a time to come into balance, come into center, come into peace of the journey that you've gone through the moon phases. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this has come together to share during this time. It is a totally different style that I shared this episode about the moon energy in. And so I hope that it was still easy to follow, and I hope that something resonated with you. I I normally, I end with an affirmation, which I'm going to share in a minute, but I wanted to just share some poetry that came to me when I was reflecting on the moon phases in my life and reflecting on what that journey has been for me. And so I wanted to share those two with you, and then share an affirmation that can be used to continue to connect yourself with this divine feminine energy, to continue to allow the channels to be open from your sacral chakra to your heart chakra, from your sacral chakra feelings, your lower feelings, to your higher feelings, your intuition, so that they are in flow together, are in rhythm together. And so the moon phases, embracing every version of me isn't always easy. Some parts are so damn challenging to face. Fear sets in, gravity presses. My vision only sees the dark version that sleeps deep within me. I struggle to remember that I'm more than depressed. I fight to remember my light, my divinity, my love, joy, smile, force, power. This cycle eventually does pass, and I return to balance and harmony. And then the other one is emotions. They are deep and wide, but when in balance and divine force, will respect boundaries. Don't be afraid to explore the depth of your feelings. Just as the ocean's shore, the water always returns. Back and forth, wax and wane, moon phases, spirit. So, don't know if those resonate with you, but they came up for me as I have been traveling through some moon phases since the last time we met, coming to my balance in this Libra full moon. And so, an affirmation I want to leave you with is: my intuition is my ancestral wisdom speaking through me. My intuition is my ancestral wisdom speaking through me. So because of this, is the second affirmation. I honor the cycles of my emotions as sacred. I honor the cycles of my emotions as sacred. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope that something resonated with you and that you can take with you as you continue on your healing and wellness journey. Ashe to you until next time. And remember, community, stay rooted in your soul.